Welcome to this corner in our dining room. This is our new kitty, Tormund. He's almost 5 months old and he be crazy. So we need to build him something that he can climb, but ideally doesn't look like your average cat tower. I don't really want that look on our main floor, so I'm hoping to build something that looks more like a bookshelf but functions as a cat tower. Let's get started. All right, the other day, Cody helped me cut down a bunch of shelf boards for this project out of white wood. This is the same wood I used for the bench I built in our bedroom. And after I did that build, I feel like I have a little bit more confidence to build something like this, which is gonna be a bookshelf with cat tower aspects. You'll see it come together. But the first thing I'm gonna need to do is a whole lot of sanding because I wanna make sure everything is smooth before I start putting it together. Because once it's together, it's gonna be really annoying to sand. So let's get into it. It's a new day, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really know what I'm doing. Because this is gonna be something that my cats are gonna climb all over, I wanna make sure that it's really sturdy, so it's probably gonna be really overbuilt. It just needs to be strong, so it's gonna be a little bit excessive, but I'm okay with that. We also have 9-foot ceilings, so this shelf is going to be 8 feet tall, so I don't have to cut down my boards at all for that. But right now I need to figure some things out. So first, I gotta find a piece of our trim so that I can mark out where that notch is in. Because essentially what I'm doing here is I'm notching out the back of the bottom of the shelf so that it can sit fully flat against the wall. And then we will be screwing this shelf to the wall because I really wanna make sure that there's no way that the shelf can tip over, because with cats climbing up and down it, it's gonna be a whole thing. So I need a scrap of our trim. So this will be back here. Okay, so I did not measure that right. No, that's right. Good enough. Okay, now I gotta do that again. So I made myself a little bit of a chart of where to put the shelf rails. And essentially what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be using these 1x2 boards, and I'm going to create little shelf rails. So I don't have enough room back here, but I'm gonna be putting these shelf rails all the way down for each shelf for them to actually sit on top of. Because again, I really wanna make sure everything is super strong. I have cut all my little boards that are gonna be my shelf rails, and now I'm going to do some pilot holes for the screws. It's gonna be annoying to fill all those holes, but I do have a special drill bit to at least help the holes be inset a little bit. I don't know what that bit is called, but I'll show you. So this is the drill bit. So this basically makes an inset hole, and so I'm going to be using that after I drill my pilot holes, just to have that little bit of a groove. This is a number 8. I'm using number 8 screws, so that'll at least make the screws just below the surface, so filling those holes should be easier. I also made myself a little template for where I'm gonna be drilling the holes so I don't have to measure every single one. So all I have to do now is line up my little template with the little board and then drill my pilot hole. All right, so there you can see the inset hole so that the screw sits slightly below the surface. I did purchase some unfinished pine screw covers, so I don't have to go filling these larger holes, which I think is just gonna be so much better. All right, I've filled all those nail holes, and once this fully dries, I can sand them flush with the wood. But in the meantime, I need to cut out more boards so that we can actually start forming this into a bookshelf. So I'm gonna cut down a bunch of boards that are the same width as my shelves, and then we can start actually putting this together. All right, I have all my boards cut out. So these ones, these are gonna attach like this. And then that way there's something holding onto the shelf from the sides and the back. And then also these will serve as a way to put my tongue and groove boards on the back of the shelf as well. I have these taller ones for the bottom of the shelf, and these are the same height as our trim. This is gonna allow so that the bottom shelf is up above a little bit and above those grooves I cut in earlier, so that this shelf can sit perfectly flush against the wall and not just sort of be leaning against it. Okay, I'm gonna drill a lot of pocket holes now. I have all of my boards with the pocket holes in them. So I have a pocket hole on each side, and then my top and bottom boards have pocket holes in the sides to attach to the sides of the shelf. And then I put them on the long end as well, and that'll go up into that bottom shelf. Now all I need to do is attach these in all on one side. And then the tricky part is gonna be trying to attach the other side without things like falling and stuff. So I'm just gonna go for it, and hopefully it all works out. So I think I'll add just a little bit of wood glue here, and then maybe also here. I don't wanna go too much because it squishes out really easily. Put the screw in there. Something that annoys me about the pocket hole screws is there's no option for 1 inch and 1/8. And that's kind of what I need in this scenario, because I found that the 1¼ inch is a little bit too long, but the 1 inch feels a little on the short side, but we'll make it work. This is precarious. I could use another hand. I could use a bigger table. I could have done this on the floor. There's a lot of things going on here, but we're gonna make it work. Bottoms on. Okay, I'm gonna add the top board, but I'm gonna flip it on the back first, because I think that's gonna make it easier to put the glue on. And also, I'm pretty sure it's not perfectly square, but it is what it is. This is nerve-wracking because it's a lot of wood, and I really don't want to mess it up and have to like tear anything apart. So I think it's going okay, but like I said, it's definitely not perfectly square, but I'm hoping it will be square enough that you won't really be able to tell, so. So the framework is now complete. So I'm gonna actually stand this up and see what we're dealing with. This is huge. Whoa. Okay, that's pretty cool. Come over here with me. I'm gonna have to put you pretty far back so that you can see the full extent of this. This is gonna be so hilarious to get into the house because It's so big. Okay, so to put this in perspective, this is 8 feet tall. I'm like 5'3". So it's a big shelf. Hopefully you're seeing my vision now. And all these rails will be able to house the shelves, which will go on like this. And this is where I can see things aren't quite square. I'm definitely gonna have to screw these in or nail them in right here so that they kind of pull in, you know? Because there's a bit of like bowing out here, which kind of makes sense. Or, so if this is here, I'm so excited. I mean, there's a little bit of, like I said, like a few flaws, but for this being my very first time doing something like this, I think it's gonna be okay. And I'm pretty proud. So these boards, we're gonna have like a face frame, like so, just to make everything pretty. The next thing I need to do is cut holes in the shelves so that the cats can actually climb. So basically I want the holes in the shelves to stagger. So there'll be one on this side, then one on this side, one on that side, one on that side. So it's sort of like a zigzag to get up there. And then in the center, my plan is, at least right now, to do a 2x4 wrapped in carpet so that the cats can also just climb up to, do I want them to be able to go to the top? That's something I hadn't considered. Am I letting them get fully to the top? So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually create myself a little bit of a template so that I can make sure all the holes are the same shape and size, but I only have to draw it out once. So there's a hole. It feels kind of big. Maybe I should go test this out on my cats. I'll be back. The only way I could make this a little bit smaller is if I made these curves even curvier, like a more of a gentle curve. Here's the two compared. This one has the paint can circles and this one has the tape circles. Really accurate measurements, but a paint can is a great one. So I basically drew a 10-inch square and then used a paint can to do the edges. And now I think that's just gonna feel like so much more space for them to exist on the shelf. So let's draw one out on this piece of wood. And something I'm gonna need to pay attention to is like, which is the top of the shelf, which is the front of the shelf, and how do I wanna place this? For this one, I think that this will be the back of the shelf, and I like the idea of, I might as well cut this knot out, and then this will be the front and the top. Oh yeah, because if you look on this side, there's even more imperfection, so I think cutting this section out is definitely a good choice. So let's just put this in here. So you can see that this will leave me a lot of space here. We have that board underneath that's supporting, but it won't be so close that this risks breaking or anything like that. And because it'll be supported both on the back and the sides, that's gonna provide extra strength as well. So I'm really happy with that. And the first thing I'm gonna do is actually drill a nice big hole. This might be excessive, but I'm gonna drill a really big hole to get the blade into. So that actually ended up being about the perfect hole for this to fit into. So now you can see I'm able to start in the middle without having to cut in from the edge or anything. So I'm gonna get my ear protection and get cutting. All right, I finished cutting everything. I felt like I got a little bit better as I was going, but the jigsaw is not my favorite tool. I feel like it could have gone better, but I'm gonna have to do a lot of sanding, which is not a big deal. I actually think the next few steps is gonna be a lot more sanding. There's so much sanding to do and I'm so tired of sanding. All right, I have some work to do on the sides and the front of the shelf now. So I actually folded up my table and put it on the floor because I am very short and it's gonna be a lot easier for me to work on it when it's lower to the ground. I just need to add this piece, and then I'm thinking at the very top, I'm gonna add a thicker one to the very top, like so, and then I'm ready to stain. I think this makes so much more sense. This is so much easier for me to do. So now I'm gonna grab all of my shelves and make sure they're sanded to the smoothest I want. I'm only going to about 220. I've read that that's about as high as you wanna go if you're staining, because it can sort of compromise the stain from actually penetrating the wood if you sand them to a too high of a grit. That was a difficult sentence, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Oh, before we do that, I have to cover up all these holes and I wanna show you what I'm doing. So I found these on Lee Valley. These are real pine, tiny little stickers, and I'm gonna use those to cover up all of my screw holes, and then I can actually stain and seal over top of them. So I'm gonna try to actually line up the green. I'm just gonna grab that. And that looks so much better. And keep in mind, this is underneath the shelf too, so it's not like something you're gonna be staring at. However, if I didn't cover them up, you would definitely be like, wow, those are some really silver screws on this nice wood shelf. So I'm really stoked on these. So I grabbed these cup hooks. I have a few different sizes. There's this size. Some of them are a little bit bigger, but it really doesn't matter. Basically what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my shelves, and on the sides of them, I'm gonna put these hooks in, and then the hooks can hang from a hanger. So then while they're drying, I can actually hang them up. And secondarily, I'm hoping to spray the clear coat on, so then they'll already be prepped for that purpose as well. I finally finished clear coating, which was a very long process, and my conclusions, here's my conclusions. Don't bother spraying polyacrylic. It was a bad idea. It also, I find it to be a very bubbly product, so if you're not like brushing it on, it's really hard to not have those bubbles. The other thing I'll say about polyacrylic, it's very watery, and so you do have to be so careful with, like, after you finish it, going back and looking to make sure that it's not gonna like pool or drip anywhere. So I'm gonna slide this shelf in from the back. It is a tight fit, which I guess is good because it should be. So there's like this tiny gap here. So if I have it forward, that looks good, but then back here, there's gonna be a gap between here and the back. And so I think having a gap in the front is better. I'm learning. This is not perfect. It's not. Oh, what happened here? These should be staggered. Oh no. I messed up somewhere. Oh, maybe these two just need to be swapped. Such a noob. Okay, I managed to get all the shelves screwed in. That was not enjoyable, and the tool I had basically broke in the middle of me doing it. So I ended up having to like hand screw some of it. I think the further I get into this project, the more I realize the things that I would do differently and why I would do them differently. But that's okay. I'm learning. I made this up. It's bound to have things about it that were like, oh yeah, that was not the best way to do that. I could have done it this other way. But sometimes it's like you don't really know until you try it, and it's okay. So now we get to do the fun part, the part that should be easier, which is adding all of these tongue and groove boards. Now it's gonna be a little bit tricky because I want to work from the inside out because we trimmed down, or we cut down the edge boards. This is another one of those things where I should have kept a little bit of extra on them. It's gonna be a tight fit, but I think if I start in the middle, it'll be okay. I did it. Holy crap. It is done. So I honestly don't think there's anything else I can do till at least Cody gets home, but I don't think just the two of us are gonna be strong enough to, and mainly I just mean because I'm the second person and I'm like 5'2". So I don't think we're gonna be strong enough to move this on our own. So I'm probably gonna have to wait a few days until we can get someone else to help us with it. It's gonna be a while, but I just don't think we're gonna be able to do this. First of all, we don't have a door this tall. So it has to kind of come in on its side and then be tipped up and pushed into place. I'm definitely gonna want little felt legs. That's another thing I need to do, to put little felt legs on the bottom, or felt feet. I mean, look at this thing. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I feel very proud. It is months later. How many months? I'm not entirely sure. But the cats really aren't using this very much. And I think there's a few issues that I want to address here. The first one is at the very top, I would really like there to be some sort of bed because I think that would just make it more comfortable. So I bought a pillow and we're gonna go fix the pillow so that we can put it up there. So let's go do that. The second thing that I think needs to be done is the surfaces of the shelf are obviously slippery because they're clear coated. And so I want to put some rug down on each shelf so that the cats have something to grip on more. I think that's part of the problem too. And then the last thing we're gonna do, which is gonna be really awesome, is we're gonna put a huge cat scratch post on the front. So on Amazon, I grabbed these cat scratch post replacement parts and I bought a whole bunch of them so that I can stack them all on top of each other to make one really big scratch post. The nice thing about these also is that if one section starts to look really ratty, I can go ahead and just like replace that section. So I made this little piece out of the same wood that the shelf is actually made out of. So I cut this sort of kind of half circle. It's a bit more than half a circle. So I'm gonna first just screw this in and hope that it can be screwed nice and tight. Okay, I have to admit that looks pretty, it looks kind of professional. I found these little wire things. These came with some shelving I have in one of my studios, and they're actually for wrapping around sort of the shelf and then securing it to the wall so that the shelf can't tip. So I'm thinking these would be perfect for wrapping around the scratch post. I'm gonna wrap this around here and then secure it in the back. And I realized because this wire is thin, I'm gonna be able to just squish it between the rows of rope. All right, you guys, so I did some things, and I'm not gonna lie, I added catnip. So let's have a look at this finished shelf that the cats are currently enjoying.